Shalom, Israel. Welcome to another True Nation class. I am tonight's teacher, YASHAMI, to my left.
Shamaria.
It's my
Shalom.
brother right there. Shalom to everybody tuning in on both the platforms. We have YouTube, which is True Nation 12, our Facebook platform, which is True Nation Israelite Congregation. Y'all be sure to share all the live streams and share all the past videos that we put up. Brothers labor hard to get this word out. We're not charging you nothing. We just want to see our people wake up so we can go home. Like, share, and please subscribe to the channels if you like the content. Tonight, as the title says, we are going into history from the Bible and how it relates to certain aspects of the world, dealing with the time from Joseph up until Moses. Now, the first thing I want to get is scripture in Romans, Romans chapter 15 and verse 4. And the reason why I want to get this is because a lot of times, especially when you're just now starting to learn the Bible, you'll come across a lot of critics, a lot of heretics, a lot of people that try to, say that this book is nothing more than folklore and fairy tales, and that's the furthest thing from the truth. Don't let anybody try to discredit this Bible and say that it's not a valid source, because some of the world's most prolific and most renowned scientists, archaeologists, you name it, historians, they all at some point refer to this Bible for some of their studies. And that in itself lets you know that this is, a true thing that you can believe and look into. It's more than just religion and what people try to say it is. This is history. Okay. And much more than that, it's the history of our people, so-called blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans, all right? So let's read that in Romans.
Romans chapter 15 and verse 4. For whatsoever things were written aforetime.
So look, everything that was written aforetime, when it concerns this Bible right here, this book, this collection of books, go ahead.
Were written for our learning.
For what?
For our learning.
Our amusement.
Our learning.
Our pastime.
Our learning.
The Most High is telling you that you can learn from the things that was written aforetime. Hence why I said some of the people in this world who are renowned for their studies and their knowledge, they go to this source. So don't let nobody try to discredit this Bible and say that this isn't a valid source that you should read, believe in. None of that. It's 100% true. Was that all of that?
No.
Go ahead.
That we, through patience and comfort of the scriptures, might have hope.
And that's the thing, too, because especially concerning our salvation, with patience, meditation upon this scripture, man, you have hope. Mm-hmm. You have a chance at getting that kingdom. So we're going to jump straight in. Like I said, we're dealing with the history of our forefather Joseph going up into the time of Moses. And, for anybody who reads the Bible, we know our forefather Joseph did some amazing things, and all praise be to the Most High, allowed our people to really be, set up good at one point in time. Most of his history and the things that he's known for takes place with his time in Egypt. The time period that we're looking at approximately is the 16th century BC. So, a lot of times people like to speculate on times. I just like to say, look, around that time, a lot of people would agree this is the time period we're looking at. So like I said, between the 16th and 17th century BC is what we're looking at. So let's get right into it. Let's go to the book of Genesis chapter 30. And we can start at verse 1.
Genesis chapter 30 and verse 1.
I'm sorry, chapter 29.
29.
And verse 31 and 32.
Okay. Genesis 29 and 31. And when the Lord saw that Leah was hated, he opened her womb, but Rachel was barren. And Leah conceived and bare a son, and she called his name Reuben. For she said, surely the Lord had looked upon my affliction. Now therefore my husband will love me.
So when you get into this right here, this is going to go into the gene pool, right? The genealogical bloodline of our forefather Jacob, who happens to be the father of Joseph. So it starts off with his eldest brother Reuben, and as we continue to read down, it just read through the names. I don't know if you have all the names just highlighted or not.
Not a fan, no.
Okay. Well, I'll just read through them for this from this point down. After Reuben, you have Simeon. After Simeon, you have Levi. After Levi, you have Judah. After Judah, you have Dan. After that, you have Naphtali. You have Gad. You have Asher, Issachar, Zebulun, and Joseph. Joseph was the 11th born son of our forefather Jacob, all right? Let's go over to chapter 37 now. And we can start at verse 1 as well.
Genesis 37:1. And Jacob dwelt in the land wherein his father was a stranger, in the land of Canaan. These are the generations of Jacob. Joseph, being 17 years old, was feeding the flock with his brethren, and the lad with the sons of Bilhah, and with the sons of Zilpah, his father's wives. And Joseph brought unto his father their evil report.
So you had the youngest sons, the youngest son, Joseph, out there with his older brothers, right? They was tending to the field, and it got a point in time where Joseph was going to go home and tell his father the evil report, because you'll find out that, Israel, we wasn't always the most stand-up people. We have a crazy history, and you see why it's so important that we get salvation, that we can save ourselves from ourselves, in a sense, because we're our worst enemies, right? Go ahead.
Verse 3, now Israel loved Joseph more than all his children, because he was the son of his old age, and he made him a coat of many colors. And when his brethren saw that their father loved him more than all his brethren, they hated him, and could not speak peaceably unto him. And Joseph dreamed a dream, and he told it his brethren, and they hated him yet the more.
So we all know that Joseph was known as being the dreamer. Joseph would have dreams given to him by the Most High, and he was actually able to expound upon his dreams and actually give great interpretations of those dreams, right? So it said you had a situation where Joseph, he would tell his dreams to his brothers, and because that, being the youngest, he was the most loved, especially the oldest, the firstborn, Reuben, he's the one who's supposed to get all the kudos and everything from his father. He's the firstborn. But, because Jacob was older in his age and, was still bearing seed, Joseph, the youngest one, happened to be his favorite. So, typically, I guess it's normal for children to feel that type of way, right? And it said he would dream, and his brothers hated him for that, right? Go ahead.
Verse 6, and he said unto them, hear, I pray you, this dream which I have dreamed. For behold, we were binding sheaves in the field, and lo, my sheaf arose, and also stood upright. And behold, your sheaf stood round about, and made obeisance to my sheep.
Now, this is something we have to pay attention to, this dream in particular, and to what he was telling his brothers. He said, look, this is one of the most recent dreams I done had. We was in the field binding sheaves, and lo, my sheaf arose. Mine was standing up real tall, healthy, right? Healthy crops. He said, but yours was bent over, was dying, right? Old looking. And not only that, but it made obeisance to his sheaf. I mean, he was giving credence. He was giving that respect and that reverence, right, to his particular crops. Go ahead.
Verse 8, and his brethren said unto him, shalt thou indeed reign over us?
Now, here's the thing. He's already like, hey, you the one giving us these dreams. He didn't just stop there. He gave him the interpretation of it. He says, you the younger brother, you 17 years old. Who knows how old Reuben was at this time? He could have been 30. You telling me we supposed to bow down to you? Right? Read.
Or shalt thou indeed have dominion over us? And they hated him yet the more for his dreams and for his words.
And man, they already didn't like this dude. How much more now you got your younger brother telling you, you know what? It's going to come a point in time where all y'all going to be bowing down to me. Y'all treating me like this right now, but just give it some time. Watch what's going to happen. Said they hated him even more. Go ahead.
Verse 9, and he dreamed yet another dream, and told it his brethren, and said, behold, I have dreamed a dream more, and behold, the sun and the moon and the 11 stars made obeisance to me. And he told it his father and to his brethren, and his father rebuked him and said unto him, what is this dream that thou hast dreamed?
He said, hold on. So before he was with his brothers, and I'm not going to go into the full breakdown of that, the sun, the moon, the stars, and everything is dealing with Israel. But the fact that the Most High gave him another dream, and it didn't just stop at his brother. He said, this time you're going to go to your parents. He said, look, even your parents is going to bow down to you. Imagine your son coming up to you saying, Dad, one day you're going to bow down to me. You're going to give obeisance unto me. You're going to serve me. It's the verbiage being used that's really cutting the soul. It's like, come on, man. It's different if you that guy, but you start putting it in my face. What do you mean I'm going to bow down to you? Like, yeah, you might be a great dude and everything, but don't put it in my face like that. That's how they was taking it. But the thing was, he wasn't lying, because you're going to see how the history unfolds and how the Most High actually worked with Joseph and how this played out. So he said, look, he told the same thing to his father. His father had to rebuke him. He checked him. What the hell are you talking about, boy? All these dreams coming from, man. What you doing? Right? Go ahead.
Shall I and thy mother and thy brethren indeed come to bow down ourselves to thee to the earth?
But here's the thing, though. Who was their father? Jacob, right? A wise man. Jacob wasn't no idiot. He dealt with the Most High. Remember, he wrestled with the angel and all of that. Go ahead.
And his brethren envied him.
His brother envied him, right? But go ahead.
But his father observed the same.
Like I said, he wasn't no dummy. He was like, you know what? There's got to be something to this. He kept that in the back of his mind, like, I'm going to see what my son talking about. Go ahead.
Verse 12, and his brethren went to feed their father's flock in Shechem. And Israel said unto Joseph, do not thy brethren feed the flock in Shechem? Come, and I will send thee unto them. And he said to him, here am I. And he said to him, go, I pray thee, see whether it will be with thy brethren, and well with the flocks, and bring me word again. So he sent him out of the vale of Hebron, and he came to Shechem. And a certain man found him, and behold, he was wandering in the field. And the man asked him, saying, what seekest thou? And he said, I seek my brethren. Tell me, I pray thee, where they feed their flocks. And the man said, they are departed hence. For I heard them say, let us go to Dothan. And Joseph went after his brethren, and found them in Dothan.
Now watch this. Go ahead.
And when they saw him afar off, even before he came near unto them, they conspired against him to slay him.
Evil. These are the tribes we talking about. Like I said, that's why I love the scriptures, because as much as people try to naysay and, well, it's like, dude, the Bible doesn't even say that we always been upright. The Most High is not a respecter of persons. He said he's dealing with the just. Israel, you my chosen, but if you're not moving upright, I ain't messing with you. Because people try to make it, so you just saying God only deals with y'all. It's like, yeah, he deals with us good and bad. So as soon as they seen Joseph coming up, they like, man, we got to get rid of bruh, straight up. Go ahead.
Verse 19, and they said one to another, behold, this dreamer cometh. Come now, therefore, and let us slay him, and cast him into some pit. And we will say, some evil beast hath devoured him, and we shall see what will become of his dreams. And Reuben heard it, and he delivered him out of their hands, and said, let us not kill him.
And that's actually when you get into one of the traits of Reuben, when you find where Jacob blesses all of his sons, and he told Reuben, like, man, you was being an upright dude. This played a part into that, because they was really going to kill him. But Reuben stepped up. The oldest like, hey, hold on. that ain't the wisest thing we could be doing right now. And Reuben was outnumbered. Remember, it was 11 sons. So, yeah, one trying to do the right thing. So, he had all the rest of them like, look, Reuben, you better do something fast. We're going to get rid of you too, probably. You don't know what the conversation was, right? But go ahead.
And Reuben said unto them, shed no blood, but cast him into this pit that is in the wilderness, and lay no hand upon him, that he might rid him out of their hands, to deliver him to his father again.
So the thing was, he was like, man, look, instead of killing him, just put him in a pit. Let's just leave him here in a pit. And he was thinking that the brothers was going to be cool with that. And, you know, after they was done doing their business, they was going to leave. Reuben was going to come back and get his brother and restore him again to his father. But go ahead.
And it came to pass, when Joseph was come unto his brethren, that they stripped Joseph out of his coat of many colors that was on him. And they took him and cast him into a pit, and the pit was empty. There was no water in it. And they sat down to eat bread.
That's cold, huh? Got rid of your little brother, you're going to sit down and eat after that. Go ahead.
And they lifted up their eyes and looked, and behold, a company of Ishmaelites came from Gilead with their camels bearing spicery and balm and myrrh, going to carry it down to Egypt.
And when you're dealing with the Ishmaelites, you're dealing with the modern day Arabians, the Arabs. Those would be those tribes in that lineage. Go ahead.
And Judah said unto his brethren, what profit is it if we slay our brother and conceal his blood? Come, and let us sell him to the Ishmaelites, and let not our hand be upon him, for he is our brother and our flesh.
Look at that, as if it's any better. Look, we ain't going to kill him, we just going to sell the nigga. Because that's our brother, he's still our brother. So they threw Reuben's plan way out the window. They said, nah, we might as well make some coin off of this. His dreams, right? Go ahead.
And his brethren were content. Then there passed by Midianites merchantmen, and they drew and lifted up Joseph out of the pit, and sold Joseph to the Ishmaelites for 20 pieces of silver, and they brought Joseph into Egypt. And Reuben returned into the pit, and behold, Joseph was not in the pit, and he rent his clothes.
It's like, man, we done lost our little brother. Go ahead.
And he returned unto his brethren and said, The child is not, and I, whither shall I go? And they took Joseph's coat and killed a goat of the kids and dipped the coat in the blood. And they sent the coat of many colors, and they brought it to their father.
Look how crafty Israel is. They done sold their brother, and it's like, dang, like Reuben wanted to do the right thing, but it's like, what we gonna do now? I'm the oldest. Dad gonna get on me tough. I done lost my little brother. All y'all my responsibility. What is we gonna do? Israel, you know, scriptures say that Israel is wise to do evil. They didn't waste no time. I got it. Give me the coat. We're going to make it look like he got ate up by a bear or something. You know, they ripped the coat up real quick, went and killed a goat, smothered some blood on it, right? And went and brought it to their father. Go ahead.
And they brought it to their father and said, This have we found. Know now whether it be thy son's coat or no.
As if they didn't know that was Joseph's coat.
Cold-blooded, man.
Oh, Dad, we found this in the field. Is this Joseph's? No one damn, like, you know, because the scripts is black and white. You kind of got to really, it's the real life stuff that happened. Man. A conversation had to take place.
Everybody get their story right.
Man, literally, a conversation had to take place.
It was a bear.
Go ahead.
And he knew it and said, It is my son's coat. An evil beast hath devoured him. Joseph is without doubt rent in pieces. And Jacob rent his clothes and put sackcloth upon his loins and mourned for his son many days.
Go ahead.
And all his sons and all his daughters rose up to comfort him, but he refused to be comforted and said, For I will go down into the grave unto my son mourning. Thus his father wept for him. And the Midianites sold him into Egypt unto Potiphar, an officer of Pharaoh's and captain of the guard.
So boom, the plan went perfectly, was perfectly executed. The sons of Israel had this plan, and Jacob believed it. Figured the boy was eaten up by a beast somewhere. They didn't got their money from the Ishmaelites, and after all of this, Joseph ended up being sold unto the land of Egypt, right? And remember, he's only 17. We ain't dealing with like no super grown kid, because you would read throughout the story like, damn, like how come he didn't have enough sense just to go home? He probably ain't even traveled that far before. You know, a lot of those things back in the day, you had to take a camel with you, and you on them long distances. It ain't the same like today where you can like just Google Maps home. Like you had to really know where you was going back then. So in his mind, he's like, man, I'm probably better off in Egypt, like here somewhere, compared to wandering off home. I ain't got nothing to eat, nothing to drink, mess around and die just on the way back. So we dealing with a young man that got sold off into Egypt, right? So at this point in the story, what ends up happening is that, yeah, because I don't want to read all of Genesis. We'll be reading this thing all night. So just to kind of recap and bring you up to speed, once Joseph got put into Potiphar's home, Joseph became excellent in everything that he did. The Most High Spirit was with Joseph. And remember, he was only a 17-year-old kid at the time. It doesn't specify how long he was with Potiphar. And Potiphar was a higher up. I believe he was the chief of all the armies of Pharaoh. So Potiphar ends up making Joseph head of his house. And so much to where all the money Potiphar got, all the food, everything that got brought in, he didn't even know how much he owned because he trusted Joseph in telling him how much was in his possession. He said, look, everything that's coming in this house, like, ain't nobody greater than you in this house but me. All my money, all my finances, you got that on lock. Anything you want is you good. He was low-key living a good little life under Potiphar until Potiphar's wife, you know, took heed of Joseph like, man, that young man is sharp. I want a piece of that. She ended up approaching him saying, hey, I want you to lay with me. Forget Potiphar, he a buster. You the real one. Like, you handling his money. I want you. And she vexed him days upon days upon days to the point where she really pressed herself against him one time, and he literally had to flee. He had to strip about his coat and get on. Only thing left in her hand was his coat. So what happened was she ended up going to her husband and screaming, and the guards came in after he took off out the house, you know, because he had said, like, man, why are you trying to have me commit adultery and do this great sin? Like, what's wrong with you? And she ends up telling her husband, like, look, this man tried to force me. He tried to rape me. I don't know where y'all was at. I was screaming. Once I screamed, he got scared and took off. Here's the proof. Here's his coat. So after that, Potiphar got hot and he didn't really put a hit out, but, you know, he sent guards looking for Joseph, and once they found him, he got put in jail for that. And that's where the story picks up. So the thing is, once he got in jail, the same thing actually happened. Let's get that in Genesis. Give me Genesis.
Where he's in jail.
Yeah.
40.
Give me Genesis 40 and
Verse 2 and 3 talk about the butler and the baker. And then 4 is where he's actually in jail with him.
I want verse 21 in chapter 39.
Okay.
So just how Joseph became the top dude in Potiphar's house, he became the top dude in prison too. Go ahead.
Genesis 39 and 21. But the Lord was with Joseph and showed him mercy and gave him favor in the sight of the keeper of the prison.
Mm-hmm.
And the keeper of the prison committed to Joseph's hands all the prisoners that were in the prison.
He became the top dog again in prison because the Most High was with him. He was upright. Go ahead.
And whatsoever they did there, he was the doer of it.
Uh-huh.
The keeper of the prison looked not to anything that was under his hand, because the Lord was with him. And that which he did, the Lord made it to prosper.
Because when these men had Joseph under them, the Most High was blessing the heathens because of Joseph's sake. Just because Joseph was watching Potiphar's bank account, the Most High was blessing Potiphar with money. And he was like, damn, like, I ain't letting you go. Right? Keep reading, chapter 40.
40 and 1. And it came to pass after these things that the butler of the king of Egypt and his baker had offended their lord, the king of Egypt.
Uh-huh.
And Pharaoh was wroth against 2 of his officers, against the chief of the butlers and against the chief of the bakers.
So you have these 2 dudes who got sent to prison because they offended Pharaoh, right? Drop down and read verse 9, because what you'll find out is these men were vexed sitting in prison, and they was getting hit with these dreams left and right. And, you know, they waking up in cold sweats like, man, like, what's going on? So, you know, Joseph being over all the inmates, he was like, yo, what's going on with you? I said, man, I had this bad dream. Like, you know, can you tell me what's going on? Right? So read verse 9.
And the chief butler told him his dream to Joseph and said to him, in my dream, behold, a vine was before me, and in the vine were 3 branches, and it was as though it budded, and her blossoms shot forth, and the clusters thereof brought forth ripe grapes. And Pharaoh's cup was in my hand, and I took the grapes and pressed them into Pharaoh's cup, and I gave the cup into Pharaoh's hand.
Now, if you get a dream like that, what are you going to make of it? I wouldn't know what to make of it. What the hell is this? A branch? I got 3 different branches budding up, and I see Pharaoh's hand. What's going on? But look, Joseph, he was so endowed with the Spirit, he didn't waste no time. Read.
And Joseph said unto him, this is the interpretation of it.
With a quickness. Go ahead.
The 3 branches are 3 days. Yet within 3 days shall Pharaoh lift up thine head and restore thee unto thy place, and thou shalt deliver Pharaoh's cup into his hand, and after the former manner when thou wast his butler.
He said, look, for everything that you was dreaming of and you scared, don't worry. After 3 days, Pharaoh's going to take you back, and you're going to be restored. Everything you lost, you're going to have it right back. You're still going to be serving Pharaoh. You're going to be good. Go ahead.
But think on me when it shall be well with thee, and show kindness, I pray thee, unto me, and make mention of me unto Pharaoh, and bring me out of this house.
Well, he trying to jug like, hey, dog, I done did something for you. Do a little something for me. Come on, man. You was sitting there scared. You feel me? I'm scared too. I done helped you out. Help me out.
Prison rules.
You know Israel, man. Come on. We got to finesse. We got the finesse. So he said, look, man, look, when you in your top spot again, just remember me. Go ahead.
For indeed, I was stolen away out of the land of the Hebrews.
Drop down and read verse 16. So that was with the butler, I believe, and now we're going to deal with the baker. Go ahead.
Verse 16, when the chief baker saw that the interpretation was good, he said unto Joseph.
So he said, look, like, damn, because the time passed and the butler got restored and, you know, the whole kingdom saw it. So he was like, damn, this dude really is on to something. He said, look, I had a dream too. Go ahead.
I also was in my dream, and behold, I had 3 white baskets on my head. And in the uppermost basket, there was of all manner of baked meats for Pharaoh.
Now check this out. Start from the top again. My bad. Read that again. Because this is cold. Because, again, the thing is, a lot of times, even in this truth, more than likely, y'all didn't have some questionable dreams. Like, oh, could have that been something from the Most High? What does it really mean? You know, I didn't have talks with this Jake where we didn't have some stuff like, hey, that felt a little too, I don't know. But I wasn't able to interpret it. I don't know what it means. Right? And then it's that humility factor because the scriptures talk about not even adhering to your dreams, and those who follow their dreams in that sense is foolish. So it's like, ooh. But watch how cold this one is. Go ahead.
Top of 16. When the chief baker saw that the interpretation was good, he said unto Joseph, I also was in my dream, and behold, I had 3 white baskets on my head.
3 white baskets on his head. Go ahead.
And in the uppermost basket there was all manner of baked meats for Pharaoh, and the birds did eat them out of the basket upon my head.
Baked meats inside the baskets, and the birds was eating out of those baskets that was sitting on top of his head. Go ahead.
And Joseph answered and said, This is the interpretation thereof. The 3 baskets are 3 days. Yet within 3 days shall Pharaoh lift up thy head from off thee, and shall hang thee on a tree, and the birds shall eat of thy flesh from off thee.
This is cold. Imagine having to tell a man that. Like, yeah, man, in 3 days, you're going to be hung, and the birds going to eat your head off. Go ahead.
And it came to pass the 3rd day, which was Pharaoh's birthday, that he made a feast unto all his servants, and he lifted up the head of the chief butler and of the chief baker among his servants. And he restored the chief butler unto his butlership again, and he gave the cup into Pharaoh's hand. But he hanged the chief baker, as Joseph had interpreted to them. Yet did not the chief butler remember Joseph, but forgot him.
It's like, dang. The butler went back to living his best life. He didn't forgot all about Joseph. Cold, though, right? So let's drop down, because what you'll find out is it's a series of events the Most High had put into place to put Joseph in a certain situation. Now we're going to deal with Pharaoh, because Pharaoh started having some dreams. 41, let's start at verse 1.
41:1. And it came to pass at the end of 2 full years.
How long?
2 full years.
Now here's the thing. We dealing with a righteous man who had to spend at least, that we can see on paper, 2 years in jail. Because they really didn't give no timeline from when Potiphar put him in jail to when he met the butler and the baker. But since all that happened, it's been 2 years. I don't know why we be thinking that just because we keeping the laws of the Most High, nothing's going to happen to us. The Most High said, I need to try you like gold is tried in the fire. That's that false ideology. And like, the more I'm in this truth, like the more I hate that teaching, because it's like the Christian church all over again. Just keep the commandments and you'll be good. It's like, yeah, that's an aspect of it. We know at the end of the day you would be good because the Most High would save your soul, but you still need to prep yourself for what's going to happen to your flesh. If it wasn't a big deal, the Most High wouldn't have gave you warning in the book of Sirach, chapter 2. Said, look, you coming to serve me, prepare your soul for temptation, because some stuff is going to happen. I mean, you got accounts of prophets getting their heads cut off, righteous men dying in war. The thing is, as long as you never step off your square, making sure that you do take that loss, and it's not really a loss, but you lose your life for the Most High. You can't just sit here and think that nothing's going to happen, because if you go with that type of mind state, when something does happen, it's completely left field, and now you're taking off your square, and you probably won't react how you need to react. So expect the worst, but pray for the best. Go ahead.
And it came to pass at the end of 2 full years that Pharaoh dreamed, and behold, he stood by the river. And behold, there came up out of the river 7 well-favored kine and fat-fleshed, and they fed in a meadow. And behold, 7 other kine came up after them out of the river, ill-favored and lean-fleshed, and stood by the other kine upon the brink of the river. And the ill-favored and lean-fleshed kine did eat up the 7 well-favored and fat kine. So Pharaoh awoke, and he slept and dreamed the second time. And behold, 7 ears of corn came up upon one stalk, rank and good. And behold, 7 thin ears, and blasted with the east wind, sprung up after them. And the 7 thin ears devoured the 7 rank and full ears.
So his dreams, he had 2 dreams back to back. The first one, you got some good cattle, and you got some bad, ugly, dying cattle. Ate them up. The bad cattle ate up the good cattle. Second dream, you got some good crops, you got some bad crops. Bad crops ended up devouring all the good crops. So after this, he's tripping like, dang, like what is going on? And what you'll find is after this, he was so disturbed by his dreams that he called for all the magicians in the kingdom, all the sorcerers, pleading for somebody to please explain to him what was going on with his dreams. But none of them could do it. They all failed. Go to verse 14.
Verse 14, Then Pharaoh sent and called Joseph, and they brought him hastily out of the dungeon. And he shaved himself and changed his raiment and came in unto Pharaoh.
And I actually forgot a part. The reason why Pharaoh ended up calling Joseph because it finally clicked in the butler's head, like, oh, man, I forgot to tell you, Pharaoh, there was somebody I met in prison you should probably know about. He can probably help you out right now. And he was like, okay, well, bring him here ASAP. Go ahead.
And Pharaoh said unto Joseph, I have dreamed a dream, and there is none that can interpret it. And I have heard say of thee that thou canst understand a dream to interpret it. And Joseph answered Pharaoh, saying, it is not in me. God shall give Pharaoh an answer of peace.
Go ahead and drop down to verse 25.
Verse 25, and Joseph said unto Pharaoh, the dream of Pharaoh is one. God has showed Pharaoh what he is about to do.
So he said, look, for both of those dreams that you had, it's really the same dream. It's the same understanding. Go ahead.
The 7 good kind are 7 years, and the 7 good ears are 7 years. The dream is one. And the 7 thin and ill-favored kind that came up after them are 7 years. And the 7 empty ears, blasted with the east wind, shall be 7 years of famine. This is the thing which I have spoken unto Pharaoh. What God is about to do, he showeth unto Pharaoh. Behold, there come 7 years of great plenty throughout all the land of Egypt.
So he said, look, just let me make it even more clear for you. Egypt is going to have 7 years of plentifulness. And I don't even know if that's a word. But crops is going to be springing up out of nowhere, left and right. All your cattle is going to be reproducing like crazy. Things is going to be great. Go ahead.
And there shall arise after them 7 years of famine. And all the plenty shall be forgotten in the land of Egypt, and the famine shall consume the land.
It said it's going to be so bad that the famine is going to consume the land. Similar to what we're seeing right now here in America. They disguise it well because you can still turn on your TV and see concerts. It's getting bad, though, because remember, this is spiritual Egypt, right? It's just mirroring what happened in the past. But go ahead.
And the plenty shall not be known in the land by reason of that famine following.
It said the famine is going to be so bad for those 7 years, you're going to forget that you had 7 years of goodness. Read.
For it shall be very grievous. And for that the dream was doubled unto Pharaoh twice. It is because the thing is established by God, and God will shortly bring it to pass. Now therefore let Pharaoh look out a man discreet and wise, and set him over the land of Egypt.
Look at the finesse. Look at the finesse. He just got done telling this man, because you gotta think about it. It's not like he's not sitting here and saying, look, man, like you're gonna come up on like a little bit of money, but you know, next week the money's gonna be disappearing. He's telling him the rise and downfall of Pharaoh's kingdom. That was the extent of the conversation. So after he done told him, like, look, Most High said all this is gonna happen, and then he also said this is gonna happen too. So, you know, he putting himself up, but then he's going to say, but, you know, you should probably go and find someone wise and discreet to kind of help you with this situation. The finesse, as if he didn't know he was the man for the job, right? Go ahead. And actually, before you get that, go to the book of Sirach, chapter 42. This is what sets the Bible, right, on a way higher pedestal, actually on the only pedestal when it comes down to what the Most High has ordained us to read. Because people like to hold the Quran, the Egyptian Book of the Dead, and all these other texts, right, saying this is what we should believe in. And we already know, because we go to the scripture all the time, Isaiah 34:16. It says that no one of these shall fail. Prophecy is what we're dealing with. Prophecy is what sets this book, right, in a better standing than any other book as to what you should believe in, what you should follow. Now, the thing is, the prophecy isn't just like, man, Warren, one day if you live long enough, you're going to get old. That's not a prophecy. That's facts. But the thing is, the Bible goes into detail. He didn't just say, look, Pharaoh, one day your kingdom's going to fall. We all know that's going to happen. But he tells them how and when it's going to fall. Read Sirach chapter 42 and verse 19. Check this out.
42 and 19, he declareth the things that are past.
The Most High declares the things that's past, right? Go ahead.
And for to come.
And for to come, prophecy. But here's the good part. Go ahead.
And revealeth the steps of hidden things.
He reveals the steps of the hidden things. He gives you details. Mm-hmm. When he said, look, Israel, y'all don't keep my commandments, I'm going to curse y'all. Okay. right? That would be the answer if he didn't go into detail. He said, nah, you're going to be cursed in your streets, your cities. Your kids going to be cursed. You're going to be working in fields, not for your benefit, not because you want to. I'm going to send you into a land that you've never been to by a nation whose tongue you shall not understand. And the way you're going to get there is by boats. When you get there, you're going to be sold. You're going to be under captivity. You're going to be in captivity under your wicked brother Esau. Like, these are the details the Most High gives us to say, hey, follow this. Go to Isaiah 34:16 now. These are the details that all these other books, all these other religions, all these other false ideologies is missing. And why our people shouldn't subscribe to them. It's simple. The Most High said, prove it for yourself. Walk outside your door and tell me what you see. And then you show me a book that depicts exactly what you're living through. Go ahead.
Isaiah chapter 34 and verse 16. Seek ye out of the book of the Lord and read.
And read it. Don't just listen to it, because you got the Sunday pastors and the Catholic priests. Don't just listen to someone read it. Read it for yourself. Go ahead.
No one of these shall fail.
No one of these prophecies that's written in this book is going to fail. It's already proven. Go ahead.
None shall want her mate.
And there's no book that wants to stand next to this. It's out of its league. Go ahead.
For my mouth it hath commanded, and his spirit it hath gathered them.
God. That's all I needed from there. So that's the thing, man. The Most High, when he's showing Joseph the understanding and giving the interpretations of these dreams, these prophecies, things that's to shortly come to pass, it's undeniable. Pharaoh was like, dude, there's something special about this guy. None of my magicians in the kingdom could have got with him. Go ahead and pick up where we left off, verse 33.
Genesis 41 and 33. Now therefore let Pharaoh look out a man discreet and wise, and set him over the land of Egypt. Let Pharaoh do this, and let him appoint officers over the land, and take up the 5th part of the land of Egypt in the 7 plenteous years. And let them gather all the food of those good years that come, and lay up corn under the hand of Pharaoh, and let them keep food in the cities. And that food shall be for store to the land against the 7 years of famine, which shall be in the land of Egypt, that the land perish not through the famine.
Now here's the thing that a lot of people want to overlook, and which is pretty crucial. What you're reading here in the scriptures is one of the first, I guess, historic texts of a city implementing, let me get the definition for you. Economics is what I'm getting at. This is one of the earliest texts that you find of someone using economics to hold their city or their state, their nation in good standing. And it was delivered by us. They gonna make us go to school here in Esau's land to learn business, learn economics. Our forefathers already had it. And for all of these Egyptologists out here and all these commissions who they ought to be thanking Israel. We saved their land. Since they want to be Egyptian so bad, we saved their land. Let me get the definition of economics real quick.
Wouldn't be no Egypt without us.
God.
Would have been destroyed. And that's another point why you bringing that. If you look into dream theory, because he said it wasn't Joseph. He said God shall give you an answer. Dreams can change constantly. When you have dream theory, most people don't understand their own dreams, and that memory can quickly be changed based off of their influences. Like they say, you can't see somebody that you've never seen before in your dreams. You can only understand the capacity that your mind allows you to. But Joseph was saying, well, I'm giving these things to the Most High. So not only can I understand my own dreams, I'm able to understand yours. I'm able to understand them in depth. He didn't give them no basics to say, oh, well, I think. He said, no, this is exactly what it is. This is when it's going to happen. This is what the Most High is telling you. And then this is what you need to do. Now that he didn't just point out what, the details in the situation. He gave him a solution behind it. He said, now this is what you need to do moving forward regarding these dreams. That's power.
You're exactly right. And like I said, that's why it's so cold, the finesse on it, man. Like, he said, man, look, Pharaoh, like, you need to find out someone wise, discreet to set over your land and help you out with the situation. But since I'm here, this is what you need to do. Do this, 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 and this, and this. But still go find someone else, though. Just, put officers in place. And, I guess you could say they said it. I wasn't even here. just get me out of jail type stuff, right? I'm telling you, it's the finesse. Here's the definition of economics. It says, the branch of knowledge concerned with the production, consumption, and transfer of wealth. And then you also have the condition of a region or group as regarding material prosperity. So, like I said, here with the scriptures, you have one of the earliest accounts, in time. This is going back thousands of years. And we're not saying that Egypt is the oldest civilization, nor is Israel. Israel is the last person born, on this earth as far as nations is concerned. So it's not like, oh, this is something that we created. It's not about that at all. But the fact is, this is something in history that has played a huge part. Egypt has a huge impact on this world's history. It's one of the most renowned things. People travel to it year by year to, oh my gosh. And so this is big to see the contributions that our forefathers has made to history. That's a big deal for us. So read verse 36 again.
36. And that food shall be for store to the land against the 7 years of famine, which shall be in the land of Egypt, that the land perish not through the famine. Mm-hmm. And the thing was good in the eyes of Pharaoh and in the eyes of all his servants.
Everyone was like, ooh, hey, that was good, that was good. People don't say much, but they just, like those press conferences with the president, they just taking notes and everything. That's what they was doing. Like, damn, yeah, that was solid. And you also see here an aspect of alms, because the thing is, the scriptures say that you're supposed to put your alms in a storehouse to deliver you from a day of death. Also see an early sign of that. But read on.
And Pharaoh said unto his servants, can we find such a one as this is, a man in whom the Spirit of God is?
They were so captivated by our forefather. Damn, he's sharp. But watch how this plays out, though. Hold that and give me Deuteronomy chapter 4. And I believe I want verse 15. Because the thing that I love so much about who our power is, the Most High wants all of us to shine in that exact same light. The instance was you had wicked Israelites who wasn't trying to do right. But the Most High said, man, if you want to do right, come and eat at my table. I'm going to treat you like one of my own. I'm going to give you everything. And watch this, because the scriptures talk about that. 4 and verse 15.
Deuteronomy chapter 4.
Actually, that's not what I want. I want
Which one are you looking for?
Where it says, a people so holy, with a law so righteous, and God so near unto them. Deuteronomy. One second, y'all. I need this. 4 and 5. I said 15. Excuse me.
Deuteronomy chapter 4 and verse 5.
Because this is exactly what the Egyptians and Pharaoh did to Joseph when he was being upright in his righteousness. Go ahead.
Behold, I have taught you statutes and judgments, even as the Lord my God commanded me, that ye should do so in the land whither ye go to possess it. Mm-hmm. Keep therefore and do them, for this is your wisdom and your understanding in the sight of the nations.
Just by keeping the commandments. This is your wisdom and understanding in the sight of all these other nations when they behold you. Go ahead.
Which shall hear all these statutes and say, surely this great nation is a wise and understanding people. Mm-hmm. For what nation is there so great, who hath God so nigh unto them?
It's the same thing Pharaoh said. It said, man, like, can we find such a one as this? Man in whom the Spirit of God is? Go ahead.
As the Lord our God is in all things that we call upon him for. Uh-huh. And what nation is there so great, and hath statutes and judgments so righteous as all this law, which I set before you this day?
Because that's the thing. How the economics, and it's all in the Bible. It's here at our disposal. You don't need to go to no college to get taught by East. It's right here for you to learn. Most High said, just keep my commandments. I'll give you the understanding. And that's another big thing. Another big thing that Joseph did, because it goes to show the state of where Egypt was, right? Egypt wasn't big on saving anything. And remember, this is spiritual Egypt. America's motto isn't save. Everyone's motto is you only live once, spend it while you're here because you can't take it with you. Egypt was like, well, shit, we so carnal in our thought process, we going to take it with us too. When I die, bury me in gold, dip me in gold, dip my corpse in gold. I'm taking it with me to wherever I end up. That was their thought process. They wasn't about saving. Till the land, give everything it's worth, right? Spend it, eat it all up. The exact same way America reacts. When you look at like the stats on why people in America are so fat, it's because of our consumption. We consume everything. Everything. You turn on your as soon as you go to Facebook or Instagram, you seeing ads. They want you to consume more products. That's all America's about. That's all Egypt was about. Joseph said, look, man, let me show you about saving. They was like, what's that? But let's go back to Genesis and pick up at verse 38. You got a point?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, man, it's crazy because the way the thing that Moses was trying to say and the point that he was driving home, he was like, what nation got it like we got it? He said, we got the laws, we got the statutes, we got commandments. So many of our people, they look at that as bondage. They look at that as a burden. They look at that as oppressive. Oh, well, I can't do nothing. Everything is a sin. It's like, man, he said, this is our blessing. This is what keeps us safe. This is what makes us different from all of them. All the issues that they're having, he said, if we keep these commandments, we're not going to have to go out the way that they go out. We're not going to have to, find the tribulation or the hard times that they're going to find as long as we stick with the Most High. It's a blessing to have these laws and commandments.
You're exactly right. And that's the thing I really want to drive home tonight, plant that seed in y'all to really get y'all to understand, like, this Bible is world history. You look at a lot of the things that's set up in this world is set up according to the laws that our God gave us. You deal with lawyers, right? Going to court, you need some lawyers. Well, that comes from the tribe of Levi, lawyer. When you getting sentenced, don't they got a jury of 12? Where'd they get that from? Oh, 12 tribes? Oh, okay, cool. Like, this Bible is world history. We got to stop looking out and start looking within. We're the reason why this world literally turns and burns. We are. Yeah. Go ahead, verse 38.
Verse 38, and Pharaoh said unto his servants, can we find such a one as this is, a man in whom the Spirit of God is? And Pharaoh said unto Joseph, for as much as God has showed thee all this, there is none so discreet and wise as thou art. Mm-hmm. Thou shalt be over my house, and according to thy word shall all my people be ruled.
Look at that. Again, you got to understand the magnitude of their conversation. Joseph is saving his kingdom. He said, look, man, this ain't no small matter. I understand that. I ain't no dummy. After all of this, I want you to know that I want you to rule my kingdom. As you see fit, we were doing it that way. Go ahead.
He said, thou shalt be ruler over my house, and according unto thy word shall all my people be ruled.
Now check this out. Go ahead.
Only in the throne will I be greater than thou.
He said, if I'm going to keep it all the way G with you, I know you a more superior dude than I. But for my kingdom's sake, I'm going to be the face. You the one calling the shots, but I'm going to be the face. Respect. Go ahead.
And Pharaoh said unto Joseph, see, I have set thee over all the land of Egypt. And Pharaoh took off his ring from his hand and put it upon Joseph's hand, and arrayed him in vestures of fine linen, and put a gold chain about his neck. And he made him to ride in the second chariot which he had, that they cried before him, bow the knee. And he made him ruler over all the land of Egypt.
This is the first historical event of someone going from zero to hero. He coming out of prison.
Man.
Remember, he said he even shaved for this. He like, man, like, imagine that, coming out of prison to a big bag. Second of all, Egypt. Most High didn't gave him a set of wheels. He didn't give him a ride. He said, you got that chariot over there. Here, you want some jewelry? Take my ring. Here go this coat. Probably had a mink coat on. Like, man, it's so crazy to see what our forefathers was able to accomplish by keeping the commandments. And that's the craziest part to me because, living in this world, they do a great job of making, like, the Bible and God corny. Like, We can sit here and talk about the Bible all day, but you talking to somebody without, they gonna make it sound, they gonna make you feel like you a lame, like, man, you still talking about the Bible, bro? Like, for everyone that our people looks up to, right? The Jay-Z's, the Kanye's, whoever, they got their riches, their fame by selling out. Our forefathers got it by keeping the commandments. Like, I don't think our people really think about that type of stuff. They did it by keeping the commandments and believing in God. Like, that's big for me personally. Because I remember being like that seat, like, I'd be too ashamed to pray over my food because people looking, I'm like, oh, they gonna know I believe in God. Like, as if that's a bad thing. But that's really, that's society today. Lets you know we live in those end times where it's gonna be wickedness exceedingly. That's amazing to see our forefathers changing the world by keeping the commandments, man.
I was gonna say, and don't the scriptures tell you the righteous are an abomination to the wicked, like the wicked are abomination to the righteous? So you mean to tell me you don't eat no pork? That's doing too much. You ain't hitting the club? Never? Like, nah, man, I'm keeping the commandments. It's Friday night. I'm keeping the Sabbath. I can't do all that. You seen Boosie? He came out. He was like, I wish God would come to me, come in my ear, and talk about how I'm not supposed to eat pork. He like, I flick God off, tell God to get the F on. Wickedness is what's cool. Yeah. Wickedness is what's okay. It's like, man, what? You not hitting the club? You not, your job told you to come. What? You not voting? You not going there? You not doing this? You not cracking females? You not. What's wrong with you? No Christmas. What's wrong with you? No, I'm keeping the commandments. Oh, you got a spirit. You got a demon. Something wrong.
Crazy.
Babylon.
Welcome to hell, all right?
Man.
So for all of this that's going on, right, just to give you that time, another timestamp, couldn't find the exact scripture somewhere right here, though, but it says that while all this was going on, Joseph was 30 years old. So we got, at 17, he's put into Egypt. He served Potiphar for some time, and then he was in jail. So you do the math. How long was this Jake in jail for? A cool little minute. So, and also he had his 2 sons at this time as well. He got married and had his 2 sons, Ephraim and Manasseh. So let's drop down to verse 56.
Genesis 41:56. And the famine was over all the face of the earth. And Joseph opened all the storehouses and sold unto the Egyptians, and the famine waxed sore in the land of Egypt.
Now, check this out.
And all countries came into Egypt to Joseph for to buy corn, because that the famine was so sore in all lands.
It wasn't even that Egypt alone got affected. All the immediate surrounding areas got affected by this as well.
It said the earth.
Yeah, the earth. It do say that. It was some crazy stuff going on. But with all of that, right? Because most people, what do you get from that? Whole earth is going through it. And Egypt's the only one, because of what Joseph did, is able to, still buy and sell. But all the other nations have to come to Egypt. What do you get from that? What type of where does that put Egypt in terms of power? Khan, a world power at this point. It's called supply and demand. And Israel, I got this brick for 18, I'm gonna sell it to you for 36. That's what they was doing. Like, man, they coming to Joseph. You know how Israel is. Man, I got this corn, man. Like, we usually pay 10. I'm gonna need 20.
What you gonna say? Ain't nobody else got it.
The whole world is hurting right now, and Egypt's the only one who got it, and they got to go to Joseph for it. Go ahead.
And I was gonna say earlier, we said there was no Egypt without us. There wouldn't even be a world without us.
Man.
Through the Most High, all praise be to the Most High.
Supplying the world, man. Come to Egypt, we got it. We on the block with it. It's crazy, man, because we read these stories, but we overlook how powerful they are a lot of times. That's why it's crazy, because I like to live out, and reenact these things in my mind when I'm reading them. Like, okay, what was really going on? Mm-hmm. It's like, dude, like we got a small glimpse of that just 4 weeks ago when this whole coronavirus thing set play. Whew, some water was looking, water was looking good.
Dangerously low. hit the store and they sold out all the water.
Man,
What?
your guy said hit the store. They sold out all the water.
People was fighting over it. People, I don't know who came up with the toilet paper thing. You like, man, like.
You getting calls from your homeboys like, hey, Ralph's on 82nd got it. Bet. You speeding over there like. That's what the world was doing. We got to get to Egypt. You know, them highways was packed.
Man.
Because they didn't have cars. They taking camels and asses. They putting the jugs of water on them and the satchels and like, man, I can only picture what was going on. And here was the thing: we dealt with the coronavirus thing it was bad for about 2 weeks. They had 7 years. Imagine the type of wealth that was brought to Egypt, that was brought to Joseph. I'm telling you, these scriptures is heavy. These scriptures is heavy. So, supply and demand was in full effect. Pharaoh couldn't be happier. And it's going to go into some detail as to actually how they was dealing with this situation. Let's drop down to actually, you know what? I think I skipped over it.
Can I, real quick, while you
do your
for that? I was going to say, because you're talking about wealth, because like you said, there wouldn't even be a great Egyptian period without Israel. This is like, Egypt's highlight. Amazon, I think I was reading an article earlier, it was, I think, $75 billion of revenue this past quarter because of all the coronavirus. Everyone's trying to stay home. It's a massive amount of wealth that's come because they have the supply. So, and there's a huge demand. So, you could pretty much do whatever you want. This, like you said, this is just in 2 weeks. That was in a quarter. That's 3 months. 75 billion. And they're not even the only store that's open. You can still hit Target, Ross, and all, not Ross, Ralph's, all these other grocery stores. But just Amazon alone being a global giant the way it is, they're making billions. Now, imagine if this thing goes on for a year. Man. And they making that much every 3 months.
It's only going to go up. Because it's like, at that point, it becomes about who's the top dog. Mm-hmm. And we see it play over and over and over again. What happened to Blockbuster and Hollywood Video? Oh, Netflix. What happened to, what was the other thing that got taken out? Oh, your regular taxis, Uber. Like, you see it happen over and over and over again. So it's going to be the exact same thing. It ain't going to be no more Walmarts and Targets. It's going to be Amazon. But, it's crazy. And we won't have to get too much into it, but earlier in chapter 41, it talks about, some of the measures that they were taking to make sure that the land was good. It said that when they had the good years of 7, it said, man, the people wasn't being greedy. They was storing up everything. It said that they was piling corn like the sand of the sea. Man, fill up the storehouses because we got to be able to divvy this out once it gets bad. And, that goes for the other foods and everything as well. So let's drop down to chapter 42 now and read verses 1 and 2.
Genesis 42 and verse 1. Now when Jacob saw that there was corn in Egypt, Jacob said unto his sons, Why do ye look one upon another? And he said, Behold, I have heard that there is corn in Egypt. Get you down thither and buy for us from thence.
How you think word is spreading back then, though? They ain't had no Twitter and Facebook.
Right.
You got somebody running through the towns. Egypt's got it. Like, what? Go ahead.
That we may live and not die.
So with all of this going on, we almost forgot about Joseph's father and his brothers. Like, man, he's such on a come up right now. What do he need his family for? But again, the whole earth was affected. So it affected them. Let's see how the thing played out. Drop down verse 7.
Verse 7. And Joseph saw his brethren.
So Jacob said, look, y'all sitting there looking at each other like y'all stupid. Go to Egypt. Get the food for the family. Because, Jacob, he's getting old at this point. His sons is young, man. Go take that trip to Egypt. Go and get the food for the family. So sons come down into Egypt, right? Joseph, he main one, making sure rations is going out. He counting the money. He see his brothers coming in like, Go ahead.
And Joseph saw his brethren, and he knew them, but made himself strange unto them, and spake roughly unto them. And he said unto them, Whence come ye?
Imagine that. The tables is flipped. So he sees his brothers coming in, right? Say we at the door of True Nation, and you did me, you Reuben, and I'm Joseph, right? I see you coming into the door for class. The hell you doing here? What you want? But the thing is, you don't know who I am. You're like, damn, like, why are you talking to me like that? Being rough, he's speaking bad. Like, what business you got here? Like, just rough, like, whoa, hold on. Go ahead.
And they said, from the land of Canaan to buy food. And Joseph knew his brethren, but they knew not him.
So he had that little animosity built up real quick, like, man, these niggas, man. So he's talking to him bad. That's what it said. He spake roughly to him, like, hey, man, he's the man right now. So it says that Joseph knew his brothers, but they didn't know him. The way he was looking, you remember, he's engulfed in Egyptian culture at this point. He probably had on Egyptian rags, Egyptian drip, so they didn't notice him. Like, it's been years. Remember, he got sent off at 17. He became the man at 30. All those years going, I look a lot different just from high school. Sometimes people just be like, and that's only been not even like 7 years. So imagine you add another 15 to that. People going to be like, Shaq, like, that's you? So that's what you're dealing with. So it says he knew his brothers, but his brothers didn't recognize him. Drop down and read verse 15.
Verse 15, hereby ye shall be proved by
read verse 14.
When verse 9, the spies.
Yeah, it kind of repeats it. Just start at verse 9. We'll read down. Yeah, it's fine.
Verse 9, and Joseph remembered the dreams which he dreamed of them, and said unto them.
Wait, so remember that dream? my stack going to stand up tall, and yours going to bend down and bow to me. He said he remembered it right on the spot. He said, oh. Oh, he was like, right? Go ahead.
Ye are spies. To see the nakedness of the land ye are come.
Now, you got to remember, being a spy, that's like, what type of offense is that called?
Treason.
Treason. That's held high in any nation. You a spy, you need to get put to death type stuff. So remember, he's already speaking rough to his brothers, and he's the man, and he's accusing them of being spies. So they like, whoa, hold on. We're here to buy corn, bro. Like, what you mean? Right? Go ahead.
And they said unto him, nay, my lord.
My lord, look. Well, hold on. Go ahead.
But to buy food are thy servants come. We are all one man's sons. We are true men. Thy servants are no spies.
They pleading their case. Go ahead.
And he said unto them, nay, but to see the nakedness of the land ye are come. And they said, thy servants are 12 brethren, the sons of one man in the land of Canaan. And behold, the youngest is this day with our father.
Because Jacob ended up having another son, Benjamin. Go ahead.
And one is not.
He said, hold on. Benjamin, our youngest son, he's at home with our father back in our land. And our other brother, he's not here no more. He dead. He was like, talking about Joseph. And he's like, oh, these niggas. Go ahead.
And Joseph said unto them, that is it that I spake unto you, saying, ye are spies. Hereby ye shall be proved, by the life of Pharaoh, ye shall not go forth hence.
I'm not finna let you into the city to buy corn and buy what you need. Go ahead.
Except your youngest brother come hither.
Said, bring your younger brother here. Go home and bring your younger brother here, and then you can buy, right? Go ahead.
Send one of you, and let him fetch your brother, and ye shall be kept in prison, that your words may be proved.
If you really say you're not a spy, then y'all gonna prove it to me by staying in jail and letting one of y'all go back home and get your brother. If y'all really not spies, go ahead.
Whether there be any truth in you, or else by the life of Pharaoh, surely you are spies.
Go ahead.
And he put them all together in ward 3 days. And Joseph said unto them the third day, this do and live, for I fear God.
So that, that part of his heart started to pull, like, damn, he's still my brothers though, man. Like, all right, man, look, instead, this is what I'm gonna say. Go ahead.
If ye be true men, let one of your brethren be bound in the house of your prison. Go ye, carry corn for the famine of your houses, but bring your youngest brother unto me, so your words be verified, and ye shall not die. And they did so.
Look, man, I'm going to let you get y'all corn and stuff, and, y'all seem believable, but one of y'all, instead of all of y'all, one of y'all need to stay back. Go get your corn and everything and go on your way and bring your brother back, and I'll release him once y'all get here, right? Go ahead.
And they said one to another, we are verily guilty concerning our brother, and that we saw the anguish of his soul when he besought us, and we would not hear. Therefore is this distress come upon us.
So because that they were being faced with a possible death penalty now, all those years that they have forgotten about Joseph, now it's finally kicking in. Damn, this is our karma. We dealt with our brother falsely, and now we're probably about to die for it. Or one of our brothers is about to die for it. Go ahead.
And Reuben answered them, saying,
the oldest. Go ahead.
Spake I not unto you, saying,
Didn't I tell y'all? But y'all wanted to go and do your own thing. Right now, look us. We about to die. Go ahead.
Do not sin against the child, and ye would not hear. Therefore, behold, also his blood is required. And they knew not that Joseph understood them, for he spake unto them by an interpreter. And he turned himself about from them and wept.
So that didn't help either, that Joseph was speaking Egyptian. The only way he was speaking to his brothers, even though he still spoke Hebrew, he would speak with a translator. So it kind of helped, like, damn, like, we don't know this man. They didn't even think that was Joseph. So with all of that going on, he heard the conversation, what Reuben was saying. Didn't I tell y'all not to do it to Joseph? It said, man, he couldn't even take it. He turned around and started crying. Because it's like, damn, go ahead.
And returned to them again and communed with them and took from them Simeon and bound him before their eyes. Then Joseph commanded to fill their sacks with corn and to restore every man's money into his sack and give them provision for the way. And thus did he unto them. And they laded their asses with the corn and departed thence. And as one of them opened his sack to give his ass provender in the inn, he espied his money, for behold, it was in his sack's mouth. And he said unto his brethren, my money is restored, and lo, it is even in my sack. And their heart failed them.
So the thing is, they went there to buy corn. They had already got pressed for being spies, right? They went there to buy corn. I mean, you're supposed to spend your money. How is it that you now leaving and you got your money with you? So they thinking like, damn, he gonna sit here and say we stole this. Who put the money back in our sacks? We paid for it. So they tripping like, dang, just when we thought we was good. And it's funny because as you read on, we keep going through it. He always kept them on their toes, like low-key scared for their lives. Because you got to imagine, like, man, you got all of the dudes with, like, man, like, this is the Egyptian army. And it's like, man, you being accused of spies. So, you know, the army looking at them like, they got spears ready. Like, what's up? What you want me to do, Joseph? So you got to really try to, you know, envision what's going on. So they were supposed to pay for all of this. But Joseph, because he still loved his brothers, he said, man, give them their money back. Give them their money back. So they were scared on the way home. They're like, man, well, this money shouldn't be here. So, of course, you know, they go home and they tell Jacob, their father, what happened. They said, look, we got to this city. The dude, we don't know why he was on 10, but he was cussing us out and speaking rude with us. And, you know, Jacob's like, one of y'all missing. Let me tell you what happened, Pops. So, right? Anyways, they told him, like, man, one of us had to stay back because the dude commanded that our younger brother come with us. Now, at this point, you got to understand Jacob's position. He wasn't trying to let his newest, youngest son go out in fear that he might die. He was like, dude, like, we need this food, but I can't let Benjamin go. If something happens to this kid, too, I'm literally going to die. Like, he was, like, sheltering him. Like, man, I don't want him to go. Like, forget that. I'm coming with y'all. And they was like, nah, Pops, you too old. Like, man, look, I know you tripping. Just let us take Benjamin. We'll be all right, blah, blah, blah. So Jacob eventually was like, man, all right, please bring him home safely. So they end up getting Benjamin, and they go back. And we're going to pick up at chapter 43 and verse 15. So this would be the second trip to Egypt. And this time, they brought back double the money. They brought different presents and gifts and things to bring to him. Like, hey, man, I'm telling you, we're not spies. We honest men. So go ahead.
Genesis 43 and 15. And the men took that present, and they took double money in their hand, and Benjamin, and rose up, and went down to Egypt, and stood before Joseph. And when Joseph saw Benjamin with him, he said to the ruler of his house, bring these men home, and slay and make ready, for these men shall dine with me at noon. And the man did as Joseph bade, and the man brought the men into Joseph's house. And the men were afraid because they were brought into Joseph's house.
So they thought it was like a setup, like, damn, how you bringing us into his house? Clearly he knows that somehow we didn't pay for the food last time, and he about to. So I'm telling you, they on edge the whole time, like, dang, go ahead.
Because of the money that was returned in our sacks at the first time are we brought in.
See, man, he knows. Go ahead.
That he may seek occasion against us, and fall upon us, and take us for bondmen and our asses. And they came near to the steward of Joseph's house, and they communed with him at the door of the house.
Drop down, that's all I need from there. Drop down and read verse 26.
Verse 26, and when Joseph came home, they brought him the present which was in their hand into the house, and bowed themselves to him to the earth. And he asked them of their welfare, and said, is your father well?
He checking up on his pops. You know how badly he probably wanted to say, how's dad doing? Is your father doing well? Go ahead.
The old man of whom ye spake, is he yet alive? And they answered, Thy servant our father is in good health. He is yet alive. And they bowed down their heads and made obeisance.
Just like the dream. Go ahead.
And he lifted up his eyes and saw his brother Benjamin, his mother's son, and said, Is this your younger brother, of whom ye spake unto me? And he said, God be gracious unto thee, my son.
And the thing is, too, I believe it was Rachel who was Benjamin and Joseph's mother. She died giving birth to Benjamin. So Joseph couldn't even see his mother no more. So you can only imagine. But he didn't know this. He didn't know this, but, you know, that's the thing, because we're going to see how the story unfolds. But you can only imagine. It talked about Jacob's, you know, heart hurt. Imagine his mother. Damn, I done lost my only boy at that time, because Benjamin was her second. And she died after he was born. Go ahead.
And Joseph made haste, for his bowels did yearn upon his brother. And he sought where to weep, and he entered into his chamber and wept there.
So he said, man, he seen Benjamin like, this is my little brother. And he just couldn't hold it. He had to break away in the back and go cry. Go ahead.
And he washed his face and went out and refrained himself and said, Set on bread.
So then they opened up the tables, the chairs, and they started eating, right? Drop down to... Actually, keep reading.
And they set on for him by himself, and for them by themselves, and for the Egyptians which did eat with them by themselves, because the Egyptians might not eat bread with the Hebrews, for that is an abomination unto the Egyptians.
So they all had they sections. You know, they were solid though. It was a group thing, but they had their sections. Go ahead.
And they sat before him, the firstborn according to his birthright, and the youngest according to his youth.
Said, boom, hey, Reuben, all the way down to Benjamin. Y'all sit accordingly. You know, we finna feast tonight and do well. Go ahead.
And the men marveled one at another. And he took and sent messages unto them from before him. But Benjamin's mess was 5 times so much as any of theirs.
Say, man, this is my little brother. He gonna eat real good tonight. Get him the fried chicken, but get Benjamin anything he want. Give him the buffet. Go ahead.
And they drank and were merry with him.
So they had a good night. And the whole time, they still kind of tripping, like, why is this dude doing all of this to us? We just here to buy corn, you feel me? And get our brother back. Drop down. Let's start at verse 1 for 44.
44:1. And he commanded the steward of his house, saying, Fill the men's sacks with food, as much as they can carry.
Say, hey, they brought this much money, man. Hey, give them whatever, right? And it's funny, too, because even after all of this, you still going to find where Joseph decides to be petty. After a while, it's just him just trying to get back after all these years. Go ahead.
And put every man's money in his sack's mouth. And put my cup, the silver cup, in the sack's mouth of the youngest, and his corn money.
Now check this out. So they just got done whining and dining with this man, having a good old time. He said, hey, man, I got this special cup on my table, though. Grab that one and put it in his sack. Go ahead.
And he did according to the word that Joseph had spoken. As soon as the morning was light, the men were sent away, they and their asses. And when they were gone out of the city, and not yet far off.
It wasn't too far. Just a couple blocks away. Go ahead.
Joseph said unto his steward, Up, follow after the men, and when thou dost overtake them, say unto them, Wherefore have ye rewarded evil for good? Is not this it in which my Lord drinketh, and whereby indeed he divineth? Ye have done evil in so doing.
So he didn't place the cup in his brother's pouch and then went and told his officer, and go and retrieve it for him. Make a big deal out of it too. Right, go ahead.
And he overtook them, and he spake unto them these same words. And they said unto him, Wherefore saith my Lord these words? God forbid that thy servant should do according to this thing. Behold the money, which we found in our sacks' mouths. We brought again unto thee out of the land of Canaan. How then should we steal out of thy Lord's house silver or gold? With whomsoever of thy servants it be found, both let him die, and we also will be thy Lord's bondmen.
He said, look, man, like, at first, we thought you was going to be tripping because someone put the money back in we brought back double just so we made sure you wasn't tripping. And now for all of this, you're going to sit here and saying, we stealing some silver and gold? Like, bro, we didn't even come here for that. Matter of fact, if you find it on us, which I know you're not, let the person who found it put him to death, and everyone else who's alive will be your slaves. Right? Go ahead.
And he said, Now also let it be according unto your words.
Nigga, you said it. All right, you said it. Go ahead.
He with whom it is found shall be my servant, and ye shall be blameless. Then they speedily took down every man his sack to the ground, and opened every man his sack. And he searched, and began at the eldest, and left at the youngest. And the cup was found in Benjamin's sack.
So the youngest one had it in there, right? You know, their hearts must have dropped to they. Go ahead.
Then they rent their clothes, and laded every man his ass, and returned to the city.
Drop down verse 16.
Verse 16, and Judah said, What shall we say unto my Lord? What shall we speak? Or how shall we clear ourselves? God hath found out the iniquity of thy servants. Behold, we are my Lord's servants, both we and he also with whom the cup is found. And he said, God forbid that I should do so, but the man in whose hand the cup is found, he shall be my servant. And as for you, get you up in the peace unto your father.
So he said, look, matter of fact, because remember, he said put it in Benjamin's pouch. So the whole thing was the one who got caught with the cup was originally supposed to die, but he said, I'll just be cool with you being my slave. So he told all the other brothers, I got the one who got my cup. If y'all ain't got nothing to do with it, then you clear. Go home to your dad. Reuben was not having it, though. He said, dude, this was the only one my dad cared about. So he goes back to Joseph pleading like, man, look, dude, I will do anything. Like, just let him go. Like, you don't understand the severity. Like, you gonna kill me, but my pops is gonna kill me. Like, that type of stuff, right? Drop down and read verse 27.
Verse 27.
Actually, 26.
26. And we said, we cannot go down if our youngest brother be with us. Then will we go down. For we may not see the man's face, except our youngest brother be with us.
So he's telling Joseph, like, dude, this is the conversation I had with my pops before we even got here. Go ahead.
And thy servant my father said unto us, ye know that my wife bare me 2 sons. And the one went out from me, and I said, surely he is torn in pieces, and I saw him not since. And if ye take this also from me, and mischief befall him, ye shall bring down my gray hairs with sorrow to the grave.
So he's like telling him, like, look, dude, with everything going on, literally my pops is going to die if you keep this one. Just keep me. Like, he's really pleading at this point. Drop down, read verse 31.
Verse 31, it shall come to pass when he seeth that the lad is not with us, that he will die. And thy servant shall bring down the gray hairs of thy servant our father with sorrow to the grave.
So like I said, at this point, Joseph just being extra, really trying to put the fear into him. Drop down chapter 45 and read verse 1. So we see how this plays out.
45 and 1. Then Joseph could not refrain himself before all them that stood by them. And he cried, cause every man to go out from me. And there stood no man with him, while Joseph made himself known unto his brethren.
At that point, he broke down. He like, man, the jig is up. Like, I'm Joseph, y'all. Like, imagine that. I would say first family reunion, but they might say I'm reaching. They might say I'm reaching.
The first doc?
In history. No, but man, you can only imagine, though. It's like, after all of that, and he going to sit here and say, look, it's me. Like, who? It's me. Go ahead.
And he wept aloud, and the Egyptians and the house of Pharaoh heard. And Joseph said unto his brethren, I am Joseph. Doth my father yet live? And his brethren could not answer him, for they were troubled at his presence.
They couldn't even man, like, you talking about, forget Jacob right now. You really Joseph? Like, so they was tripping like, man. So, clearly you see how that plays out. The dreams definitely came to pass and what they had, had been told. And the same thing goes even with the father and mother. Well, not the mother because, she died, but the father. And with all of this, they was actually still in that time of famine. They still had years going on. I think that was only like in the second year of the famine. So, with all this conversation that was going on, Joseph was letting them know pretty much everything he had did since he got sent away. And he was telling them, because they started crying too, like, damn, like, we sorry, bro. And it was like, look, man, as much as y'all thought that it was your idea to put me in that pit and sell me away, he said that was God. Don't even, that's water under the bridge at this point. Yeah, he was like, that's water under the bridge. Like, it wasn't you. You was just doing the Most High's will. This is everything the Most High has presented with me, given to me, being, having my time here in Egypt, and I want to extend that to y'all. Love. He said, man, I want to take care of y'all. Like, if Pops is, like, alive, man, I want to see my Pops. Go home and bring Dad back. Bring all your sons, because, time went by, man. if Joseph had 2 kids already, it's like you can only imagine how many other kids the other tribes was having. So he said, man, go home, get dad, gather all y'all stuff. Y'all moving in with me. So he said, I'm gonna take care of y'all too. Go to Genesis chapter 47. And with all of that, because it was a big thing. Remember, he heard not all of Egypt, but like people who was important heard Joseph weeping and crying. They low-key had to check on like what's going on. He's telling them, and this is my family. And they was like, Joseph, you never said you had a family? Like, y'all family now type stuff. And Pharaoh was pleased. Like, he said, damn, there's more of you? You got to think about how Pharaoh's thinking about it. Like, it's 10 more?
Cha-ching.
Man, he said, man, bring them in. Y'all good. So Joseph was happy. Pharaoh was exceedingly happy. and that's where we pick up. Go ahead.
Real quick, I was just gonna say, man, that's a real testament to that brother's righteousness and how upright he was. Out of all of his brethren, him being the youngest at the time, he was the only one that was chosen. But look how they dealt with him, and he had never even done anything wrong with them. He just like, hey, I had these dreams. He probably talking to him like we talk, like just regular old kicking it. I had dreams, and all of a sudden they bucking up like, what you mean you had a dream that? He could have been like, hey, man, it was just a dream. I was just talking to you because you my big brother. I had no idea you would be offended. Imagine if you had got sold, lost years of your life, had to be a servant unto all these different men, lose
Heathens
your
at that.
culture. And then on top of everything, you didn't get the opportunity to say goodbye to your mother. She dies in the process, and you never got to meet your little brother, your nieces and nephews, anyone that, like, all those things that they took from him out of jealousy over some dreams. Yep. And he still said, I'm going to put you on the best land. I'm going to give y'all the best that Egypt has to offer. I'm going to make sure y'all taken care of. I'm not going to put you amongst the Egyptians because you see how they don't even want to sit down and eat with you. I'm going to put you in a land where y'all can be y'all. The Hebrews can be Hebrews. You don't have to worry about the Egyptians. You don't have to worry about the influence. You don't have to worry about your kids going to schools with Egyptians and learning their references and their culture. He said, I'm still going to take care of you, even after everything you've taken from me.
Huge. And not even just faith, but that's the love that the scriptures talk about. That real love, because we know love comes with action. And you see that play out today, man. We got situations where we're brothers. We all brothers. May not be like, oh, we got the same daddy, but even though we do, but closely like that. Or a situation where it be the smallest fallout, but because you or me have envy towards one another, we ready to sever ties and rather see the worst for your brother. As in with this Jake, he said, man, throughout all of that, I still want to do good unto you. That's what Christ was talking about when he said, do good unto your neighbor who does bad to you, and you shall heap like coals upon their head, because they ain't gonna have no choice but to sleep at night thinking how messed up a person they are and how much more they gonna have to repent. That's how you call somebody to repent. It's like, damn, there's no way I can't be a better man after seeing what this man is willing to do for me after how bad I dealt with him. That's what the scriptures is dealing with. So read chapter 47, verses 1. Start at verse 1.
47:1. Then Joseph came and told Pharaoh and said, my father and my brethren and their flocks and their herds and all that they have are come out of the land of Canaan, and behold, they are in the land of Goshen. And he took some of his brethren, even 5 men, and presented them unto Pharaoh. And Pharaoh said unto his brethren, what is your occupation? And they said unto Pharaoh, thy servants are shepherds, both we and also our fathers.
That's a well-known and respected occupation for people back in that time. Even to this day, there's bread in that. So you got to look at some of the historical references. I thought about doing a PowerPoint and everything, and I probably should have. But just the nature of the lesson was so different because we're reading so much. It's not like we going into like world history where on this date this happened. It's kind of different. But with that being said, they got placed in the land of Goshen. That area has several names. It's known as the Nile Delta, Avaris, also land of the Hyksos. These are all things that you could look up and get some history on. And the Hyksos were known for being a Shemitic tribe, for being shepherds. I think that term Hyksos literally means shepherd kings. Mm-hmm. So you can see how that kind of plays into history and the impact that we had. Now, read verse. I don't know if I wrote that down. Oh, I think I did. I'm not sure.
What you looking for?
Where it said, he said, get the best of the land. It's I forgot to write that scripture down, but Joseph actually put, and the brother alluded to it, but I wanted to have the scripture. Joseph put his, because remember, Pharaoh said, Egypt is yours. I'm just above you as a face and in the throne. Everything else is you. You calling the shots. Joseph put his people in the best land of Egypt. And when you look at that point, it's in northern Egypt, right off the coast, right? You have like 7 different rivers that come in like this. And it goes all throughout the bottom into the Nile. All that water, that allows transportation for boats, a lot of fish, a lot of things that could be brought into your coast, right? That means the land was fertile. Literally, Joseph set them up to be solid, like good. They had the best land in Egypt. Even if you look at other maps, Egypt is a deserty place. But that land, if you look at some of the old maps where they have color, you can see where it's green. You got greenery in that section. While the rest, it kind of gets a little bit more brown than red. They had the best land over there. Joseph set them up nicely, and Pharaoh had no problem with it.
It's verse 11.
Please read that for me.
It says, and Joseph placed his father and his brethren and gave them a possession in the land of Egypt, in the best of the land, in the land of Ramesses, as Pharaoh had commanded.
And the crazy part is too, is there's so many parallels, and I'm gonna touch on that in a little bit. But go back to 47 and read verse 6. So many parallels with that. Are people having at the time to what looks and seems as is the best, right? Go ahead.
47 and 7.
6.
6. The land of Egypt is before thee, and the best of the land make thy father and brethren to dwell, and the land of Goshen let them dwell. And if thou knowest any men of activity among them, then make them rulers over my cattle.
Check that out from Pharaoh. Look, man, your brothers got to be at least as half as good as you at what they do. You know, anyone that's good for, they good at doing this, man. Make them the rulers of that. I'm happy with that because Pharaoh's like, we finna keep raking in this dough. They were set up so well, so well. Go to verse 27 now.
Verse 27, and Israel dwelt in the land of Egypt, in the country of Goshen, and they had possessions therein, and grew and multiplied exceedingly.
Now, this isn't no situation where they on a year-to-year rent type thing. This was their home. Like, that's like moving from Compton to Beverly Hills. Like, they got upgraded dramatically. Right? Go ahead.
And Jacob lived in the land of Egypt 17 years.
And that's just his father, because his father ended up getting old and died. But 17 years of goodness. That's more than what any of us could probably attest to. we got like sprinkles of good, but in the hood and in hell, they was good. Like nobody could touch them, because Pharaoh told Joseph, like, you let me know if anyone raises so much as a finger up to you, and it's a wrap. So they was solid. Go ahead.
So the whole age of Jacob was 147 years.
Jake lived 147 years. It's a long time.
Yeah, long life.
It's a super long life. But, all praises, he was able to end it, well. Let's go over to the book of Exodus now, because after this you'll find where it goes into the next chapters, where right before Jacob died, he ended up blessing all of his sons. Telling them, like, look, man, for this reason you blessed, but in the future for this reason, this is why you're going to fall. And he went through every son, top and bottom. And that's actually the same thing that people try to utilize to say this is how we identify with what tribe we're from, according to the blessing that Jacob gave to each one of his sons. But, we know here at True Nation that's not the case. Go to Exodus chapter 1 and start at verse 1.
Exodus 1:1. Now these are the names of the children of Israel, which came into Egypt. Every man in his household came with Jacob. Reuben, Simeon, Levi, and Judah. Issachar, Zebulun, and Benjamin. Dan and Naphtali, Gad, and Asher.
So look, all his brothers came in, because you remember, it was only a small company that came in the first time. Only so many years had went by. It was still pretty much that first generation. All of y'all came in, but even with that small number, look at how many had came in with that. Go ahead.
And all the souls that came out of the loins of Jacob were 70 souls.
And that was what this brother was attesting to earlier. All those nieces and nephews that Joseph wasn't able to meet. 70 from 11?
That's a lot of kids.
Oh, damn. They was multiplying, right? Go ahead.
For Joseph was in Egypt already.
Mm-hmm.
And Joseph died,
And time went on. Unfortunately, Joseph died.
and all his brethren, and all that generation.
Go ahead.
And the children of Israel were fruitful, and increased abundantly, and multiplied, and waxed exceeding mighty, and the land was filled with them.
Now, here's the thing. I don't have the exact numbers, and there's scriptures that you can use to prove this, but I believe Israel's total time in Egypt was 430 years. Yeah, that we know of, that we can prove, scripturally. We was in Egypt 430 years. Now, note, all of that time was not in slavery. That was under Joseph's rule and the generation shortly after that, where things were still like, hey, we're here because of Joseph, where Joseph's name was still respected. So you got at least 350 years of living good. Now, the reason why I bring that up is Joseph leaving at 17, becoming a man at 30. Those small amount of years that went by, and they came in with 70 souls. Imagine 300 and something years go by, how many our people was there. So when it said we increased exceedingly, it meant that. Like, it's no different from now. Go ahead.
Verse 8, Now there arose up a new king over Egypt, which knew not Joseph.
Mm-hmm.
And he said unto his people, Behold, the people of the children of Israel are more and mightier than we.
Not even more, but mightier. Damn, these people, they skilled, they strong. Look at them like, oh, we got to do something about it. Go ahead.
Come on, let us deal wisely with them, lest they multiply, and it come to pass that when there falleth out any war, they join also unto our enemies and fight against us, and so get them up out of the land. Therefore they did set over them taskmasters to afflict them with their burdens, and they built for Pharaoh treasure cities, Pithom and Ramesses.
So you're looking at the treasure cities of Egypt, right? It only has so many treasured cities. Cairo is the main one where you can go and find the pyramids and all of that.
I was going to say, Exodus 12 and 40 is the children of Israel dwelt in Egypt 430 years.
The water. What was that?
12 and 40 of Exodus.
Exodus 12 and 40. Appreciate that. And you got a lot of speculation even on that. Well, how do we know the Hebrew slaves, they didn't build that? What is Egypt treasured for? What are you going there to see? It's the same thing that our people built up when they was enslaved. And the thing is, it was so convenient because when you look at that map, you got Egypt, right? In this corner was our cities, the Delta, the Nile Delta. Cairo was just a little bit south of that. How convenient for us just to have to come down a couple of miles into our slavery. Yeah, we built those pyramids. And we have history of our forefathers in the Maccabees building pyramids. Our people had that knowledge. Who better to do it than the stock of Joseph? Skilled, wise, knowledgeable. Come on now. Read on.
Verse 12, But the more they afflicted them, the more they multiplied and grew.
Same thing we got going on here. It don't matter how many GMO products they put in our Ralphs and our foods for less. We just keep getting stronger. We keep populating. All praise be to the Most High. I just had my first baby girl. It don't stop. Israel just keep going. And that's the thing I was going to say earlier, how many parallels there are in the scriptures, right? So Joseph set they people up in what was the best, or seems to be the best, but all for that just to have to go into slavery again. And you look at a lot of the positions and places our people are located, we consider this is the best place on earth. We're in L.A. For those who are in the Bahamas, we're in the Bahamas. Most High is letting us know this isn't your rest. It might be cool now, but it's not your rest. Even our forefathers had to understand that. As good as it was in the Nile Delta and Averis, they knew this isn't our kingdom. Right? Read on.
And the Egyptians made the children of Israel to serve with rigor. And they made their lives bitter with hard bondage, and mortar, and in brick, and in all manner of service in the field. All their service wherein they made them serve was with rigor.
Read.
And the king of Egypt spake to the Hebrew midwives, of which the name of the one was Shiphrah, and the name of the other Puah. And he said, when ye do the office of a midwife to the Hebrew women, and see them upon the stools, if it be a son, then ye shall kill him. But if it be a daughter, then she shall live.
Man, so the decree was put out. All those male childs, kill them. Go ahead.
But the midwives feared God, and did not as the king of Egypt commanded them, but saved the men children alive.
19, verse 19.
Verse 19, and the midwife said unto Pharaoh, because the Hebrew women are not as the Egyptian women.
Because he pressed them. Why aren't y'all listening to what I'm saying? He said, man, the Hebrew women, they not like us. Go ahead.
For they are lively.
they got that spirit on them. Go ahead.
And are delivered ere the midwives come in unto them.
Because they was having so many problems with those kids coming out. I said, man, like only the Hebrew women able to deal with them. I don't know what's going on, but as of lately, they're not messing with us. So we got to go to the Hebrew women. Go ahead.
Therefore God dealt well with the midwives, and the people multiplied and waxed very mighty.
Even after that decree went out, we was still getting them out. Most High is excellent. Go ahead.
And it came to pass, because the midwives feared God, that he made them houses. And Pharaoh charged all his people, saying, every son that is born ye shall cast into the river.
Now look how that escalated, because remember, the decree already got put out once, but he only told the midwives. You see them sons? Kill them. It got so bad because we kept populating. Now he told everyone, y'all see them Hebrew sons? Throw them in the river. Drown them. Go ahead.
And every daughter you shall save alive. And there went a man of the house of Levi, and took a wife, a daughter of Levi. And the woman conceived and bare a son. And when she saw him that he was a goodly child, she hid him 3 months.
So the baby boy got hid 3 months. Drop down and read verse 6. And what you'll find out is with this child that was born, that's goodly child, you know, the woman ended up making like some sort of a raft to put the baby in the river because it was getting hot. Like, man, like they finding any Hebrew boys right now, it's a wrap. I got to do something. After 3 months, I couldn't hide them no more. Built the boy a raft, swaddled him up or whatever, put him in the river and shot him down, right? Read verse 6.
And when she had opened it.
So one of the Egyptian, I believe this was the daughter of Pharaoh, was at the river and she heard a noise like, is that a baby crying? Went to the brink of the river and found the basket. Go ahead.
And when she had opened it, she saw the child. And behold, the babe wept. And she had compassion on him and said, this is one of the Hebrew children.
Now, how you figure she just knew that was a Hebrew baby? Because remember in the scriptures, Hebrews got identified as Egyptians commonly. Like, oh, you Egyptian? Like, so it wasn't like, oh, it looks like a Hebrew. What you think it was? Because some Africans don't like to circumcise.
Circumcision.
We kept the law. They seem like, oh, he's circumcised. He's one of them Hebrews. They be keeping them commandments. Go ahead.
Then said his sister to Pharaoh's daughter, shall I go and call to thee a nurse of the Hebrew women, that she may nurse the child for thee? And Pharaoh's daughter said to her, go. And the maid went and called the child's mother.
And then here's the thing. The maiden that she called ended up being that baby's mother. So she sent them away because she couldn't hide them no more just to get called back and say, hey, care for this kid that my daughter found by the brinks. Go ahead.
And Pharaoh's daughter said unto her, take this child away and nurse it for me, and I will give thee thy wages.
Nurse it for me as if she's doing her a favor. It's my baby. Go ahead.
And the woman took the child and nursed it. And the child grew, and she brought him unto Pharaoh's daughter, and he became her son.
So after a while, this baby boy got adopted by the Egyptians. Pharaoh's daughter loved this baby so much, like, man, like, you my son now. I'm taking you in as mine. Go ahead.
And she called his name Moses.
She called his name Moses. So, all praises for the lesson. I hope you guys got something out of it. I believe 2 weeks from now, the next set of brothers will actually go into the history of Moses all the way up until Joshua and Caleb. So, like I said, Israel, looking at historic events that did happen, can be proven, look to this Bible, man. Our people have had such a great impact on this world and continue to impact this world. Stop letting people, convince you that you're less than and, that you're not up to par. Like, you are the bar. You set the bar. If it's not you, then it's not it. Everything else, the Most High said, look, I made you above everybody else. When you open this book, you read the magnificency of our people. Is that a word? Did I make that up?
You winged it.
I winged it, huh? Man,
Magnificence, I think what you meant to say.
magnificence. What I say? Magnificency?
Magnificency.
Yeah.
The Lord shall make a new thing.
Man. But no, seriously, man, with all of that being said, you know, love who you are. Take pride in being Israel. You know, we have such a rich history. We have rich culture. And the rest of the world wants to be you. So, you know, don't give them don't give him that pass, man. The Most High said, you know, he should know, or we should know that he's in the midst of us and we should not be ashamed. So, you know, thank y'all for tuning in, Israel. Pick up y'all Bibles and, you know, read these laws and keep them so we can get our kingdom. With that, I'm going to say shalom.
Shalom.